Hi, my name's Rick. I wanted to tell you, share with you about some problems I had with my first Harley. Uh, I didn't get my first Harley till I was 52, and wanted one ever since I was a young boy. I don't know if any of you remember the TV series, Then Came Bronson, riding his little red Harley down the Pacific Coast Highway, across that Bixby Bridge. Well, at age 52, I convinced the wife that I could save enough money on gas to pay for the payment. You know, 25 a week for this versus 90 a week on my truck, driving to work every day. Well, I ended up with my bike. This is a 94. It's when I got it, it was 27,000 miles on it, and pretty clean bike. Didn't leak any oil or nothing. Well, first problem I developed May of 2010. I was going to take a trip to Washington, D.C. for a Rolling Thunder. And my friend Tom convinced me that I need a back tire for this bike. And he actually took this bike over to Centennials and dropped it off for me because I didn't have the time right up before taking off. The day I picked it up, me and another friend named J.D. took off and went to Washington, D.C. and had a good time. Did a lot of riding that weekend. Rode this bike the rest of the summer. Rode it out of state a few times, back towards the work. Rode up into the winter, rode into the early spring, kind of late spring. I started developing oil leak. The guys say that's the nature of the beast, Harley. You know, kept riding. Of course, you know, I did the oil changes last fall. I was going to do one right before go to D.C. again this year. When I got into the primary here, found some metal shavings in the oil. So I did a little investigating. When I got looking in here, the starter sprocket right here was cutting into the cover plate. That's how all them metal shavings got in there. Well, I figured there's a reason for that too. Well, when I got into my manual, got to looking around, I come across the subject of the belt. Well, sure enough, I grabbed hold of that belt. That belt was tighter than a banjo string. Well, that goes all the way back to when that tire was put on, because that belt hadn't been touched since then. So my guys over in the shop there at Centennial had tightened that belt super tight. So everything here has moved back 1/8 of an inch. That's much wear is in those bearings. Pressure pulling back on them. Well, at the shop they said they only guarantee their work 90 days. Well, that don't ever suck. Because this is a year later. Something like this don't show up till a few thousand miles. A little wear on them bearings with so much pressure from the belt. Well, anyway, they told me they'd help me out with 10% discount on parts. They would meet me halfway on labor. Well, at that point in time, I didn't trust them anyway, and didn't have the money to pay the difference, which I figured once they got her tore down in the shop, it'd be locked in there, it'd be quite a bit. So I brought her here, parked her in my basement. It's been here ever since. Last August, July, somewhere along here. I'm hoping that I'm sharing this with you folks, and you'll keep an eye on your garage work. When you go to pick the bike up, check things like your belt. Look at it. Like I think I say, they got a short guarantee on their work. Matter of fact, I was telling this problem to my friend, which is a co-worker. He told me, he said, well, my bike happens to be in the shop at this time you're telling me this. He said, and I'm definitely going to check that belt when I go over and pick it up. Sure enough, he told me they had that belt too tight. So he could have been another victim of a wore-out bearing a year later if he hadn't been talking to me. So that's the reason I'm talking to you, hoping I'll help save some money somewhere down the line. I know it's going to be expensive, but I'm going to upgrade my transmission to a 6-speed. So when I get out on that open highway, them RPMs will be run down a little bit. Be easier on that motor, easier on gas. But anyway, I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching my film. And maybe I'll see you in DC. God bless you. Have safe driving. Bye.